Evening. Welcome to the December 9th, 2021 Library Trustees meeting. We're going to open with public participation.
No one.
And any correspondence?
No.
All right. Approval of minutes from November 4th, 2021. Did everyone have a chance to look? Any updates? Someone's going to make a motion.
I motion to approve the minutes as written.
Mark, you're in second duty.
I second it.
All right, Chris. She says yes. Wendy.
Yes.
My phone was ringing here, so I muted my.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and I say yes as well. So those are approved. Okay. Chris, would you mind updating the treasurer's report when your phone stops ringing?
Yes. So Kimberly Harriman, treasurer, sent numbers earlier today via email. The trustee gifts fund is at $4,159.01. The building fund is at $937,691.20, and the state grant fund is at $3,519,34.75.
Cool. Any questions about that? Okay. Moving on to the Friends report. Chris, would you mind reading that update?
I will. I do not mind. Okay, Friends report submitted by Mira Gill via email earlier today. She says the Holiday Bazaar sold individual books. They tried out pay what you want system and grab bags of themed books for $5 a bag. Also, craft items by Rachel Gallant, plus 3 donated theme gift baskets for kids were donated by Chris Rain that were raffled off. She hasn't seen the total amount raised yet. She reached out to Sarah, but has not heard back. They were also taking.
I believe it's $1,300.
Okay.
Know how that compares to past years, Mark?
I think it's low compared to a couple years ago, but I don't know.
Okay. I'm sure they're tracking that.
Additionally, she says that they are taking orders for Santa letters for $5 each. Sending thank you notes to participants in library opening, Kelly's Music, the bakers, readers, etc. And the last item is at the book sale room. Regarding the book sale room, they discuss featuring high quality books and possibly charging more. Books that will probably not sell well will be donated by the Friends to one of several organizations that accepts donated books.
Okay.
There ends the update of the Friends report.
Thank you. Okay. We're on to building project updates. Do you want to go or do you want me to go, Mark?
Someone else can go and I'll fill in.
All right. So in terms of fundraising, we had a surprise donation from Masala Bay the other week. So I am working on thank yous to them and seeing if they want to be added to the donors wall. We've had some donor, get to add some blocks and fix a couple names on the donor wall. So that's underway. And then I just wanted to check on some status of things. We had the opening clearly, but we had some things that needed to be accomplished for our certificate of occupancy, which I believe are in progress. And then what else is happening? Mark and Sam have a better grip on that list, a laundry list of things that need to be fixed.
So there is a long laundry list, and starting next Wednesday, we're going to go back to regularly scheduled meetings with the builder and the OPM to try and go through the laundry list.
Okay.
Sam can go talk more about the laundry list or what the items actually are.
Sure. So the fire strobes have to be moved. They did come to take a look at them. They have to order parts to move some things. And to repair some other things. So there's some lights that are out. The guys are coming tomorrow to look at the door They've come several times already for the ADA door, the main door, and they think they figured it out, and they're going to come tomorrow to attempt to fix it. They did fix some of the locks in the building that were not working correctly, and they installed a new lock on the local history room door, but the guy accidentally cut the hole in the wrong place. And so the door works, the lock works, but they have to replace the door because aesthetically it doesn't look right. It's got a big hole where there shouldn't be one. So they're going to fix that. They're just slowly working through the list of things that we've given them. And hopefully, as Mark said, these Wednesday meetings will help figure that out.
They were doing something with the windows in the children's room last week.
Right. They fixed that. The windows are supposed to be reflective on one side and not on the other, and they installed them the other way around. So they fixed that. They fixed the gap in between the doors, the patio doors and the children's room. So the gap is closed now. There's no draft. There's a few other things, but they're working on.
Okay.
Has the chainmail gate been fixed?
That was my next question.
Not yet. Apparently Al is supposed to come out to fix that at some point, but they haven't given me an exact date yet.
Okay. Lots of things. Any other of those fixes or things, Mark, you want to touch on?
What's the status with the Tucker and all of the shelving and the random pieces? And
it's still on order. We're just waiting for the orders to come in.
okay, and the pieces that they left, there's end caps or top caps, and are they coming to pick those up, or what's going on with those?
Yeah, they're gonna pick them up first.
Okay.
When they bring the other shelving in. Okay.
So we had also on the building project, we had a meeting, I don't know if we or I met with Brian last week, the week before, and we're under budget still. So we're between $150,000 and $250,000 under what we potentially anticipated. So he was supposed to be firming up those numbers and figuring out what if there was any unpaid bills that he didn't know about. And then we still have, if there's change orders like for installing locks or things like that, those will still have to come out of the budget. The solar panels are out to bid, and I believe the process should end sometime next week, at which point they'll have to pick a vendor and sign a contract. So,
cool.
And once the contract is signed, then we can do the LEED certification for the building.
Okay.
And I think they're getting ready to ask for the next grant round money. Is that correct, Sam? That should be coming soon?
Yeah, Lauren told me as soon as we get the final CO that just send it to her and we'll get it.
Great. I noticed they took the tree down by the tennis court. Did they do anything behind the building yet?
No.
All right. Do we know anything about that update for the ones behind the building?
No.
I talked to Amy Green a few weeks ago. They were waiting on the highway department was hiring a contractor that was going to come out and do estimates and a plan on what had to come down and what could be left. But I haven't heard any more from that. I can follow up with her.
Okay. All right. Any other building updates that does not go into the new business? I have none. So should we move on?
How's the staff adjusting now to the building? Are things flowing? Do we have an idea how?
They're doing
Processes.
Yeah, they're starting to get their groove of how the circ desk works, how setting up everything in the children's room, in the teen room, how we're staffing all those areas. we really need the teen librarian in there soon, but things are going well. Unfortunately, Julie B did hurt herself, so she was out this week. She broke her arm and or her wrist, and there's little things like that. A few people are sick, but not with anything bad, just head colds. But other than that, we're doing well. Everybody's adjusting very well.
Great. I know every time I go in, I'm impressed by the staff, what they're working on and have accomplished, actually.
Yep.
Right. Should we do trustees updates? Wendy, do you want to go?
Sure. I love the building. It is beyond exciting, and I want to thank the librarians and apologize to all the librarians for the over-enthusiastic 6th grade crew that has been frequenting it regularly. I'm hoping they are being a little bit quieter now as time has been going on, but they were very excited to learn that they could reserve rooms, and very sad to learn that they could not have dance parties in those rooms once they were reserved. So a huge shout out to the librarians and to Sam for kindly and gently redirecting some of that enthusiasm to a more library appropriate situation. It's been so wonderful to have the building. It's been wonderful to watch my girls and their friends really embrace it, and to watch just have the whole community. It's been like coming home. So it's been wonderful on my end. My project was the jackets. Is that appropriate to give a brief update here?
I think we have it a little bit later as an item. Do you want to hold?
I'm happy to hold. Then that's all I've got.
Project
It's just fantastic to be in the library again. So it's great.
All right, Mark, go.
I can't say that I've spent much time in the library to sit and do anything, because it always seems like there's a constant state of motion whenever I'm in the library. So it will be nice to actually sit and enjoy it one of these days. I've been helping a little bit. Katrina and I walked through and figured out some of the cleanup plans for the old building a little bit, and and just trying to figure out how to help get the punch list going, and the storage rooms and whatever's left organized. So that's it.
All right, Chris, what do you have?
I don't have too much. I actually have not had a chance to spend much time in the building yet. Not being able to, whatever. I haven't been able to spend much time in the building at this point, but I am very excited to be able to spend more time in the building in the near future. Catherine's going to be home in the next week or two, and she's very excited. She was able to get in for about 20 minutes a couple of weeks ago when she was home between a couple of things that she was doing here in Littleton, and is excited to be able to get back and actually maybe go sit and read and do something, kind of hang out a little bit, see some of her old friends in the library. So, but that's all I have. I don't have anything else.
Awesome. And I am going to echo Mark, and there's still a lot of balls in the air. I know that Sam and the staff have been amazing juggling those balls and keep making it look easy, which I know it's not. So very grateful for them. We have a lot of eager and excited residents in town, and I keep hearing all the great things about the library, which is awesome. And I love walking in and seeing faces and people that I've actually never seen in the old library, including many more people with access issue, like challenges. So like wheelchairs and walkers and all these things that I didn't see frequently in the old library. And that has been really nice to see those individuals being able to easily get around and enjoy the library. And then the kids enjoying walking over after school has been a kind of a highlight too, hearing them. And I know the staff is working through helping them learn appropriate library etiquette. I think anything we can do as parents to remind our kids what appropriate library etiquette is. They have been isolated for months, and this exciting thing's happening. So anything we can do to help them and their peers learn how to properly behave in the library would be great. And also hearing from a number of groups who want to volunteer. So we're working through that process too with Sam. Sam, why don't you hop right into your director's report?
Sure. So like I said earlier, most of this past month has been spent just settling in to the new library, working on the punch list of items that need to be fixed, also working with human resources to develop, to get the new teen librarian position filled. Apparently there are several resumes that came in, but I haven't seen them yet because HR has been swamped, but I'm hopefully we'll see them this week soon or tomorrow. And when we do get them in, I've tasked Jenna and Diane, and I will be on the committee to choose a new teen librarian. So we're all excited to get whoever that new person is. And also, I've been working on the budget, and on Monday, I presented some of the goals for the future to the select board. And we are, all the department heads are scheduled to meet next month in January in the library with finance committee and the select board. So apparently this year's Super Saturday is just going to be with the big departments like the school department, the police, fire, and then smaller departments will meet over 2 Tuesdays. I don't remember the dates, but I think it's the second and third week of January on Tuesday in the library. And I don't know which date the library is meeting yet. I still have to talk to Alicia, but those are the 2 dates for all the smaller departments. Other than that, things are going well. Like Katrina said, we're seeing a lot of new people, new families, new faces. Staff is settling in. We're just getting used to the new building, getting used to how we do things, deciding what's good, what's bad, what needs to be changed. We are. I finally got fobs for the trustees and keys. So if you haven't gotten yours yet, they're in your mailboxes. And the way we're going to do after hours use of the building is give out a fob that only works on the main door. So if patrons need to get into the building, we'll give them a fob that they can use to get in. Other than that, it's just a lot of increased use. And as far as the budget goes for this year, we're on track, doing well, spending, payroll's good, materials spending is good. Overall, we're just chugging along. Any questions?
Circulation really went up this month compared to November 19.
Definitely.
And the door counter not being there for opening weekend, we know there was a lot more people that walked through that door.
Yeah.
Do we attribute the increase in circ to being closed partially for like the couple weeks in November where we weren't circulating so much as well, or is it like part of it backlog, or is it all like an increase?
No, I think it's an increase actually, because I mean there was a backlog, but that's a huge jump. I don't think that's just from being closed for a couple of weeks.
When I was there the first couple, like the week right after we opened, there was a lot of people asking for library cards for the first time too. Yeah. I don't know if you have a count of new. 87. Sorry. New
87.
borrowers.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. It's from the time we open until the time we close, it's been a lot busier lately. So I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. The new library, people coming in to see it, and a lot of new families. Yeah.
Are we tracking the? I'm sorry. Are we tracking the meeting room use now too?
Yes. I think Susan sent out.
Susan emailed me I asked some questions about them. They're not in this report. That I do think maybe we should talk about what we would want to see in this report every month and add it in future months. But she tallied that for I think the library is only open for something like 16 days in November. And between the study rooms and the history room, Murray room, and the starts room, there was 104 meeting room reservations or bookings. So that's pretty much everyone was being used on average every day. Some of them are definitely higher than others. Those study rooms are hot tickets. The Murray room is very popular. think a lot of that must be the teens coming too for studying after school, or being there after school. And she said, I don't know, there's already some bookings for December, so I don't know what they are. And I haven't had a chance to look at this, but she was giving me kind of when the Sturts room and the Murray room were being used, so we could get a feel for hours, Mark, which I haven't looked at yet. As we're talking with other departments who want to use the library, trying to get a feel for what days of the week and what hours those are being requested by community groups and other things. So I will look at that later. Did she tell me how many? Oh, so far in December, there's been 64 bookings, and we're on day 9. So a lot of activity in the library that was not there before, for sure. We knew that would happen. I have to say, I sat in one to work while they were putting up the donor sign, so I could be there, and it was great to work from the library that day. My backdrop was much nicer than my current one right now. So it's comfortable. All right. Any other questions about that? Director's report. We'll keep an eye on those bookings. I think that's going to be important to kind of understand who's using the meeting rooms and how to work if we need to update our policies at all.
Yeah, we should keep track of not only the number of uses, but like the hours used. I'm not saying well, it'd be nice both to know, that it's used from like 2 to 3, but also like how many hours you said there's 104 bookings or whatever this month, which is approximately how many hours of people in those rooms. That's what I mean by hours, not necessarily the times.
Yeah, I was trying to get more information just to help inform when people are doing it too, so we can figure out when it might be used for other things. But yeah, I think maybe we can put together, I think this piece of information will be useful as we talk to other departments and community groups who are trying to use the meeting room. Everyone's really excited to use them. So maybe we can put together a spreadsheet and come up with a way to track what information do we need in order to inform our discussions going forward. So I'll draft that and share it for input. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then any old business that we want to cover? Nope. Should we just move on to this lengthy new business list?
Sure.
Okay. So the first item under new business is the old library cleanup. On Monday, I walked through with Sam and the select board and Anthony to show the old library to them so they knew the state of the old library and as they're planning how that space will be used for town. And our first order of business is to make sure that we get out anything that we as a library want soon. So we need to, there's a few things hanging out in there that we need to move over, but we need to make room in the storage room first. And then also anything that accidentally got brought to the new library that needs to go back, so that as they're doing metal recycling and things, the town's doing that the stuff's in the right place. So we need to do some final moving of things around. So the other thing I need to do is follow up with Anthony. It wasn't clear to me following that meeting on Monday who was responsible for cleaning up the library, who was taking the lead on that. So I have on my list of things to do to talk to Anthony about that. Sam, did you have anything you want to add to that? Based on Monday's meeting?
I know on Tuesday, Anthony's new assistant sent out an email to all department heads just saying, if you want to use the new library, if there's something you have a use for it for, just send out a proposal to Anthony, and he'll review it. So that was sent out to all department heads. I don't know what's come of that yet.
So
We
in
do
the old
not need
library,
the space.
yeah. So in the old library, has everything that's other departments want been tagged yet? Do we
No, I
know
think
when they're-
part of the issue or the discussion on Monday was that they don't even know who's officially going to move in, and the furniture that they might want to tag might depend on whether they're getting the new space or not. So,
So if we don't know what they're going to tag, how do we clean it out if we don't know if we're throwing it away or leaving it
that
or
is
donating it?
what I need to go back to Anthony for to describe to determine who's in charge of that process. There's also some policies he was bringing up of how things can be legally disposed of or donated because it's town stuff. There's a whole process you have to go through. So this piece needs some clarification.
Okay.
So at least they came through the space. They recognize that it will be of use to town. We just don't know who will be using it yet or who, but I think it's pretty clear that those shelves and things will not be there. Like the remainder of those nonfiction shelves and things will probably need to be moved out at some point. But the question is, who is in charge of that? So we're among the other furniture things as well. So that I will get back to you guys after I talk to Anthony with information, and we'll hopefully have a better plan. It's moving slower than I know we would like because we would like it off our to-do list. But so the next item is the budget update. So
Sure.
Go ahead, Sam.
So working on the budget for next year, the biggest increase will be for payroll. I'd like to, for the new teen librarian position, it was only approved at 30 hours. I'm requesting that they increase that to 37 and a half. Also, I'd like a new library assistant position at 6 hours, and one of the library techs to move from 19 to 30 hours. So including regular step and COLA increases, that's about 51,000 that I'm going to be asking for over FY22. Other than that, really, it's for things like expenses and materials. We're going to request that the trustees donate or transfer $15,000 from trust. I know we met with Alicia and Sean, Katrina, Mark, and I to discuss how we can utilize trust funds, since a lot of those funds can only be used for things like materials and not for other items. So with that in mind, I'm looking to ask for less in materials and more in payroll, with the understanding that the trustees and other funding sources might be used moving forward. So I did send out the budget. Does anyone have any questions about it?
I have a general question, not on the budget specifically, but do you still have to do narratives around it to say why you're asking for this?
Yeah.
And did you do that already, or are you still preparing that? Because one of the things I think might be helpful is to go back to some old years, starting probably like, pick some random years, like, go back 5, 10, 15 years ago and say the number of hours the library is open, the number of staff hours that we had, right? And just show that I don't think the library staffing has grown much, if at all, in the past 15 years. So
So I did create a narrative already, and I think I sent that out to you and Katrina when I sent out the spreadsheet.
Okay.
But that's something when we go before the FinCom and select board, I can be sure to bring that up in our talk.
I think that'd be really useful information.
Yeah, I keep meaning to try and gather that information. I just haven't been able to yet. So, but I think going back before, probably like to 2000, I think 2007, 2008 was a tight budget year. So I think at that point we lost staff hours and we were fewer library hours, but I think we've since increased the library hours beyond what we were at that point before the budget crunch, but I don't think we've actually increased staff hours much or proportionally. So, and I would guess that our circ numbers are way higher than they were then too. So it might be good to try and gather some of that data as help for justifying why we need those additional hours. So.
Okay. I'll be sure to gather that, and when we have
I will try and help. I just haven't had a chance to do it yet.
Sure.
Yeah, that's some good information to add to our packet.
And at the meeting Katrina and I were at on Monday, some of those select board members did mention that they might meet with department heads, the way the FinCom does. So usually every year FinCom, there's like 2 members that meet with department heads to discuss their goals. I'm not sure if any select board members plan to do that, but definitely FinCom usually does that. So I can bring that up then.
Do we know who our FinCom representative is this year?
It's always been Steve Moore in the past. I don't even know if he's still on FinCom, but
He is not.
okay. So I don't know who's going to do it this year. They haven't reached out to me yet.
Would you like us to proactively reach out to them and figure out who it is and start a discussion, or?
Well, I think they just decided on the days, so maybe they're still figuring that out amongst themselves who's going to do it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So I definitely think we need to nail that narrative for multiple reasons, why we need this staff member, why we need these hours, all of that. And also, I think it's important to say what we've due to retirements and things, we actually aren't, the YA librarian is replacing a librarian that we currently don't have. We don't have a full-time, we'd like to move one of our current members up to staff members to higher hours to get that full-time position back. So those kind of things are, I know there's going to be a lot of people who hear that we want more staffing and are going to just assume that it's because we have the new library. And that's not necessarily reflective of the staff turnover we've had in the past 2 years.
Right.
Year and a half. So just making sure that's clear. All right. Moving from budget to meeting room use. Okay. What do we want to touch on in this? This could go multiple ways. So Mark and I met with Mark Crory back in November to start talking about meeting room usage for LCTV recorded town meetings. And we, at that point in time, we had just moved into the building and there was a lot up in the air. We weren't even sure what groups were going to be asking for the library. We didn't even have all the furniture. And we said we would follow up with him this month. So Mark, you and I need to reach out to him and give him an update as we promised.
Yep.
And it does look like they're planning to use the library for 2 of those bigger meetings in January, which is great.
Yeah, and just to so I had to move 2 other groups into other rooms just to make that work. So the rooms are definitely getting, the scouts were supposed to be in the Stewart's room. So we moved them we were going to move them into the Murray room, but in the Murray room was the mystery group. So I had to move the mystery group into the local history room. So I had to kind of shuffle people around. So the rooms
You're being accommodating for sure.
Right. The rooms are definitely getting used.
Yeah, those rooms are in use,
Yeah.
which is great. Question I have about the meeting rooms is thinking of that mesh metal door that shuts the adult side of the library off from those after hour meetings is if that is not functional, should we have part of our policy? Should we consider including that as part of our policy as a contingency so that the library is not accessible to other groups after hours?
I was under the impression that metal gates it's a simple fix. It's the fuse. It's just it's 15 feet above the ground. and so I in order to get to it. So Commodore is aware of it. They're going to send somebody out. We can work on getting them to get someone out sooner rather than later. But it's not that it's broken. It's just that the fuse.
Okay, so this will be a fix hopefully soon. Okay.
So
Go ahead, Mark.
along the line of Katrina's questioning, if if it's blown the fuse once, what's going to say it's not going to happen
Right.
again? And right, when the building's out, not under warranty, and if we can't close that gate, do we want the public using the library after hours? Is the question. Assuming that most of the time we'll be able to close the gate, but if you can't, do we still want to allow people in or not?
I think we should. It hasn't. We've been doing it for the past week now, and it's been working out fine. I mean, we have cameras, and we know who's using the room and who's not, who's coming in. So
We have cameras in the upper level as well.
Yeah.
And the lights will trigger if someone's moving around in there.
right. I mean, so far it's been the scouts using the room, so hopefully they're.
Scouts honor.
But yeah.
Boy
so,
Scouts or Girl Scouts?
I
The
think both.
girl Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Actually, they all have been because I know many troops have been using the new space of both kinds, very excitedly, and also texting me saying, "How do I get in?" So everyone's still trying to learn how to get into the library, which is cute. Okay, so we should keep that in mind because if this becomes an issue, we got to figure out a plan B, I think. But so far, so good. No one else seems concerned at the moment.
So when we met with Mark Corey, we also talked about whether there's going to be like a town-wide discussion on using rooms. Has any of that happened to your knowledge, Sam? I mean, there's a lot of rooms in town with the, multi-purpose and the selectmen's room and the police station, fire station. And there needs to be more of a general plan and everyone marching in the same direction on these. And I don't know how to get that rolling.
Not as far as I'm aware. That hasn't happened yet.
I did bring up during the tour on Monday of the old library that multiple groups that I know still want to use the Cooper room. Just there's less people asking for it. So I think they're seeing it as a space, especially one that they, if you have active kids, you don't want to be in there with the portraits necessarily. So Anthony was considering whether the select board and Anthony were considering whether they could make the Cooper room another meeting room for community groups too. So that falls under that umbrella of community-wide meeting room assessments. But yeah, other than continuing to talk to Anthony, I don't know, and the select board, I don't know how to get that ball rolling.
So do you want me to do that, Katrina, or do you want to be in charge of that? Do we want to push it off on Mira or Kimberly since they're not here?
Nose goes, right?
I'm happy to help as well if I can help somehow.
Do you want?
If you want to take the lead on it, Wendy, I'm fine with that. What we really need to do is get all the department heads or everyone that controls rooms, to sit down and agree on, some kind of policy and how we're going to use rooms and how the rooms are going to be scheduled, by both town organizations, LCTV, and and community groups. So
Why don't I loop with Kimberly, because I know she was looking at library policies, but I can get that started. Would I start with Anthony or would I start with somebody else reaching out?
I would probably start with Anthony. Would be the good place to start. And I might also add in Alicia and Steve Mark.
Okay.
Because I don't know if Anthony would reach out to the school, but the school's got rooms too that should be under the same.
And I know a lot of the community groups, like the Scouts, are coming to the other rooms because they can't use the schools right now. So eventually we need all of these back because there's pressure. There's just a lot of pressure for meeting room use.
Yeah.
Competing groups.
Yep.
I'm very glad people can meet in person and want to meet in person. We just need a plan.
All right, I'll reach out and report back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the other question, speaking of policies, the meeting room policy, if I recall correctly, we kept it on the Sturts room and the Murray room mainly, or those are the after hours one. Does that include the study rooms as part of the meeting room policy? Does anyone recall?
I believe so.
Okay, they are part of the policy.
Yeah.
So I know one of the, especially trying to teach our youth in town how to properly care for an environment, there has been some pieces of paper, spilled drinks, like things kind of littering the floor when they leave. And one, I want to make it very easy for them to clean up and to know what is expected of them when they leave a room. So if we could maybe consider putting some information there, if you are, like a sign, you have the sign that says don't enter unless you have reserved the space. Maybe there's a sign somewhere that says when you leave, this is what we expect the room to be put back appropriately. And then, like, I don't know if we should just get more trash barrels for those rooms or something.
Yeah, I was going to purchase some more waste baskets and put some guidelines.
Make it easy.
Yeah.
And then if we need, if they need cleaning supplies, a comment, you can say cleaning supplies can be gotten from CERT desk or something. They don't have to be hanging out in those rooms all the time, but just so they know where to go get them if there is a spill or something.
Yeah.
And I love that our kids are coming, and I think this is our chance to educate them. Like, we need to teach them how to use the rooms appropriately. I don't want to set a policy right out the gate where they can't use the rooms, because they need to learn. So let's teach them. The other thing is the NHS students. Susan there's a lot of them who want to help in lots of ways. And one of the ways I would like to engage them is to kind of brainstorm these ways of helping them educate each other and their peers about proper use of the library and those kind of things too. So I do think kids sometimes have creative solutions and messaging that we as adults don't think of. And I would love to just make it a community effort to improve, just to keep making it a nice place to be, maintaining it. So any other meeting room use topics?
This isn't necessarily a meeting room, but I wonder, Sam, should we get counters to put on the teen room and the children's room too? Would those be useful to have to know how many people are going? Yeah. We're tracking how many people are using the meeting rooms, and we're tracking how many people are coming to the library, but we don't really have a count on those rooms per se.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely do that. I could get some.
I don't know that we necessarily need daily stats, but even if we had weekly or monthly stats, it might be it helps make the case for why you need a YA librarian.
Right. Well, we already got that. Why we need more hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Engaging those kids after school. All right. So we have a policies item. Mark, I know you were going to go through the policies with Kimberly, but I also know you were very busy, and I'm not sure that happened.
I think we went through 3 of them, but they didn't actually get put in the packet, so we should probably review them at the next meeting.
Okay. That would be great. All right, Wendy, jackets.
Jackets, I have the fun jobs. So jackets have been ordered. They're expected to arrive sometime between New Year's and the 10th. And everyone we were able to do the different colors. So if you wanted a blue one, you got a blue one. If you wanted a gray one, you got a gray one. If you didn't tell me, then you're going to get what you get. Don't get upset. It's going to be like a happy little surprise.
It's like kindergarten.
The total cost, we ended up with a 24 total, so we had a couple of extras. So if we divide the total cost, it came out to $28.53 a jacket, and because a couple of the trustees purchased as well and can then reimburse to Friends? Is that they would write a check out to? The trustees bought some?
Who's
I used the town credit card to pay for it.
Okay, so
But
that would go
the-
to,
Yes, but the credit card bill hasn't come yet. So are we charging it to Friends? Are we charging it to MMDT? When it comes time for that, where do you want to charge it to? And then then you would, I guess it would be Friends, because then it's easier to reimburse them to write a check to them. So yeah, so
Well, we haven't actually asked the Friends to pay for them, have we? So it probably has to come out of MMDT, and then you can just write a check back to the trustees, and it can go back into MMDT, right?
Sure, we could do that too.
okay.
So it's $2,800 some dollars.
No, the total cost is $684.81 is what it should be. And so the individual jackets, if you divide it with there's the $35 charge for the embroidery and shipping, comes out to $28.53 each. So
You want to make a motion to pay that $680 and whatever that exact number out of MMDT?
sure, I make a motion to pay the $684.81 out of that account that Mark suggested.
The MMDT gift fund, and I'll second it.
Gift fund.
Okay. So Wendy,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and I am a yes.
What was the actual total again when it was 684.81?
684.81.
Cool. All right. And then the next item is a donation bin, a request to have a donation bin at the library collection box.
Right. NHS student Vivian Lance would like to put a donation box to for the Lowell Transitional Living Center to collect hats and scarves and mittens. So this is the first request in the new library, and we've thought of a couple of places we could maybe put one. Maybe in the front entryway underneath the plaque, or downstairs next to the stairs, that little
Stroller parking.
Yeah, that little area. But I think Vivian would have to provide her own donation bin because we don't have any. And it should probably be something that looks nice if she does provide it. So I don't know how large she wanted it to be. I know you were talking with her as well, Katrina.
Yes. I don't actually have a size on it. I think I sent her the policy, and the policy has a specified size. On that, I will work with her again. So we want something that is visually nice, not just a random box. Because I do think, so she would like to have this bin out for a limited time through the end of January, I believe. So about a month collection time. So first up, where do we think bins should be? So the nice thing about both of those locations that you mentioned, Sam, is that they are accessible to groups after hours too, for those who are using the rooms and have the fob. And they're not like tucked in the specialized rooms. They're out there in the open. So both of those spaces I think are reasonable. I don't actually have a preference. Does the staff have a preference?
I think they wanted it downstairs just because of the content, the scarves. They didn't want it to get wet when the front door opens all the time, with the weather changing. But that's just because of what the content of the bin is, not necessarily because they necessarily prefer it there over another place.
Maybe this is something we test. Like, this is our first time. Let's see where it works. And if we're finding it's not working in the downstairs proposed location, we might just have to try it in a few places to see. I I was wondering actually if it would make sense if the library picks out and purchases some boxes that we would think are acceptable for this kind of endeavor for groups to use, just visually. That's one idea that we can consider, just to give some uniformity to the building and make it look visually appealing with our space as well. But at this point, she doesn't have enough time. If we're letting her have a box, we need her to be able to put the box in the, of her choosing in the library for this short period of time. So I don't know what people think about that idea, and also where we would store the box when it's not in use. So there's that issue as well. Because it will just collect things if it's just out.
Cheryl mentioned she purchased some of the boxes in the old library. So I think that's something we've done before.
Yeah, she bought boxes at like IKEA last time, I think, for the old library. But so I think putting it in the entranceway is probably better than downstairs, just because it's better for her because it's more visible, right? I don't know that it's necessarily where we would like it long term, but it's more visible than tucking it down in the stroller parking area. But we should also
for her own collection as well. She's got COA knitting for her, like members of the COA, their knitting group. So whether they want to walk all the way downstairs to drop off stuff is another.
Yeah, I would just question whether just make sure that we're not blocking too much of the entrance or anything for the fire codes and things with boxes if we have something on the floor there, right? I know Margaret Gibbs would like to put a box in too for her TerraCycle. So we should probably maybe like, Sam, Katrina, and myself and Cheryl walk around and figure out where we could reasonably put how many boxes and come up with a plan and go either buy them or see if someone wants to make boxes that would match the aesthetics and be the right, shape and size and whatever.
Okay. So in terms of this one student's collection, I am comfortable with her starting and using it as a test case. Anyone else?
I am too, with her doing that. And I would say that, work with, Sam and Cheryl to figure out what would work aesthetically. But I would also say not to make her go out and spend a ton of money to get a box, right? Because let's figure out what let's make it acceptable. It doesn't have to be, the gold standard, but, for what we want long term. But this seems like a good project and it's a short term thing and we should do it.
What is the size of the box?
I think that's what Sam has to determine, right?
Right.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I thought there was one written.
No, there's a policy. The box does not exceed 18 inches in width.
18 in width. But
Doesn't
doesn't
say
talk
anything
about a
about
height.
depth.
Okay.
Or height, yeah.
I think I
do
have one.
Looking at this collection box policy, I got confused by a few things in it. I know Kimberly said she had a few parts that she would edit too. So this is one of those policies I think we need to revisit and come up with a plan. And this is our first plan, right?
And Sam, if it's just her one box, would it fit like under the table that's there too, rather than being in?
Yeah, it might.
The table, like right in the entrance.
Right.
Yeah, if you're just putting one box, you could put like a small bin under the table, right? And then
there's
it's
a middle rail.
I think it's in fit under there.
It would fit under there. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
That's another spot to try.
Yeah.
I don't know that works long term if we have a lot of bins, you know, and we should probably figure out how many we can reasonably accommodate in the library at a given time, right? But for this, we can come up with a solution for one until we come up with a longer plan, and we probably should revisit it next month for a longer plan for when people ask for these things.
Yeah, it does. So interesting, Mark, the TerraCycle thing. I know there was like other bins that lived in the library long term, but our policy says a maximum of 4 weeks. I believe it does not exceed 4 weeks. So we need to come up with a plan, how to keep the library looking neat and tidy and all that stuff, and still give a lot of groups options to have these collections.
Yeah, well, like the TerraCycle thing, I don't have a problem with saying, you know, capping it at like 4 to 6 weeks or whatever, but and then you can reapply, right?
Mhm.
So if no one else wants the space, right, and you're keeping your area neat, then there's no reason you can't effectively have a long-term bin, right? But like some of the other bins, I don't know I ever saw them emptied, right? I don't know any, so that's just becomes, you know, a wasted space at that point, right? But if the TerraCycle's, if she's taking care of it and there's no other group wanting the space,
Yeah.
right, then I don't see a problem that she couldn't have it on a
Ongoing basis.
long-term basis on a short-term renewals, right?
Yeah, you're proving you're holding up your end of the bargain on that, having to keep asking for it. And Vivian, the NHS student, said she would empty the bin once a week. So she said on Friday. I don't know if she knows the hours, so I'll just touch base with her. Or Sam, do you want to reach back out to her?
Yeah, I can talk
That
to her.
way you guys can coordinate. Okay,
Yeah, sure.
that would be great. Do we need to approve it with a vote? It currently meets our policy. So Sam can execute, right?
I make a motion that we give permission for the Lowell Transitional Living Center donation box at the library through January 31st. Is that what we said?
Yep.
A second.
And Chris,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
and I am a yes. If you have questions or need help, Sam, let us know.
Yep.
Okay. And the library scholarship.
Right.
Mark,
So
you wanna? Sam's gonna fill us in. Okay.
no, I just put it on there because I think Mark wanted it to go on.
I know. I was telling Mark he had to tell us what's up because this is our first year.
So, well, last year we didn't really do it so much. Do we want to revisit it and do it again? I think there's some kids that have been volunteering a fair amount that in past years that would be worthy recipients if we offered it. I just didn't know what the plan was in the past week. So in the time that we've been doing this, we've started it somewhere between September and March, I think. So if we want to do it, we should decide that we're going to do it and when we're going to open it up and things like that. So
normally
and what our
the
parameters
scholarship
are.
starts somewhere between. So explain what has happened in the past. I guess this is.
So this is the Ray Grandy Memorial Scholarship. We typically have offered it for between 100 and 150 hours. We asked someone to donate. Correct me where I'm off, Sam, but it's like we pick a graduating senior, and we'll offer them a scholarship based on volunteer work during their senior year at the library. Usually between 100 and 150 hours of volunteer work over the course of their senior year. We usually have the cutoff somewhere around late July, though that's also varied depending on the year. So we've done up to 2 scholarships, I believe. We've had some years where we get 1 application, and I think one year we had 6, and then we actually had to make a decision. But So I don't know if Sam feels that a student volunteer would be helpful at this point, if we should be pursuing the scholarship.
So I think we started doing it, like you said, it used to be in September we would start, and then it kind of went later because what we found was the student couldn't always do it when we needed them. Also, we really need the person more so in the summer for summer reading. So it kind of worked to start later so that the person could work through end of July or August. And then since they are usually a graduating senior, by the mid-August, they're going away to college anyway, and that's when they can use the money. So I think starting the application process in the next couple of weeks is fine. And if we get anyone, it's much easier when it's a steady person as a volunteer, where they have a set schedule where we know, okay, they're coming in Tuesdays and Fridays every week, and they're available for summer reading. So when it's something like that, then we can come up with things for them to do or a project or something along those lines. So
They learn the library processes.
Right. And it gives them time over a few months instead of something where, they're just trying to fill in hours for community service time.
So
Okay.
we have an
So-
application that's already been used in the past.
Yes.
Go ahead,
I
Mark.
can send that all out. I can send that out to you again tomorrow to everybody, just so you guys can take a look at it, see if there's anything you want to change.
That'd be great. Mark, I
So,
interrupted you.
no, I was just going to say, why don't we have Sam send out the application? And if there's no issues with the application, we can send it out and have the students, anyone that we can set the deadline as like our next meeting or something, right? For the application.
January
And then
6th.
have January 6th, and then ask them, any applicants to come to our meeting, right? And then we can make a
No.
decision.
Are you saying to have it due January 6th?
Do you have we could either have, yeah,
It
it's either
just
going to
feels
be
like
January
over the
6th or
holidays
February.
seems like a weird.
Yeah, when we do it in
That-
February.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
February
can we
is better.
Okay.
set the deadline
Okay.
so that we can interview them if necessary, if we need to? We should meet them, but in February.
Okay, so set the deadline for like January 31st, and we'll interview them on February 3rd.
Okay.
And then plan for them to basically, you pick the date, Sam, is whether, I think it was usually like July 31st was we're expecting them to wrap up so that they had time to go off and do their college stuff. And
Do you work with them to set the hours, or is that?
It was usually it was Andy as head of CERC. She would work with them, but I'll talk to Jenna and Diane and see.
Is there a
Like the
limit of the
routine-
number of hours a week they can work?
No, usually they made their own schedule. Basically, it was kind of a combination of us telling them when we needed them and when they could actually do it, whether or not they had a job or after school activities, or we kind of would work with them on that.
So this has worked successfully in the past to get help for the library. Okay.
Most of the time. Yeah.
I'm
Depends
sure
on-
there are occasions that it doesn't work out, but
Depended on the person. But yeah, most of the time it worked.
Is there a set number of hours per week that you're looking for?
Like I said, I have to talk to, we're still figuring out the library. So it's figuring out what, not yet.
Wasn't it on the application? Doesn't it have
Oh, yeah, it
have-
was. It was on the application that was because we had a person who just saved it all for the last minute. And so that's when
that's what I was trying to avoid. Actually,
Right.
that was what was in
Right.
my head
Right.
of like, as a teenager, I was a great procrastinator. I actually still
Right.
I can't
am.
remember what it
So-
actually looks like, but some clear expectations, I think, should be.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would think if it's a summer reading thing, you want them familiar with the library, ready to go at summer reading. So they need to be able to juggle things at that springtime.
You're right. There was a set number of hours per week. but that was just because of that one person. So
You have found you can be flexible and still get the
right,
hours
but
out of
we can-
them.
yeah, we
Okay.
can still be flexible. Right.
Sounds like an average of X hours per week with some flexibility.
Okay. Can't wait to see the application so we can learn more about this.
We should actually also request, we should put in there something like they check in at two trustees meetings, like perhaps like the July, if we're saying the application or the period goes through the July, maybe like the July meeting and either
One in
like,
between.
one in between, maybe the maybe in like the May and July meetings that they check in, right? And tell us how it's going and, you know, what they're learning and how, yeah,
Some
that type of thing.
accountability
So, yeah.
and engagement.
Okay.
All right. That is the last item I have under new business. Is there anything else we want to discuss for other business?
Yeah, Susan said she has a check that I believe I think it's the Masala. Is it? Yeah, she wants to know.
She needs
What
to
to
know. I know I have to figure out how to contact them. Still working on it.
All right.
It might just show up. I've been calling and stuff.
Okay.
So I will put more time on that so we can figure that out. But she needs to know the account.
Right.
And we need to know if they need to be on the wall. Okay. I will follow up again tomorrow. Any other stuff?
So senior tax workers, one of the things they can do is take minutes. In the past, we did have someone who took minutes. I'm not trying to take away your job, Chris, but do we want to offer that again or try to find something else? Not to
Did it
put you
work well?
on the spot.
How has it worked in the past?
I think we only had one person do it and it worked fairly well.
Would they be able to work through this Zoom environment if we have to keep doing it this way?
Some of them can. I mean, I know people that are doing, I know there's seniors that are doing the Zoom environment and taking the notes. So I don't know that it's necessarily in everyone's bailiwick to do it that way, but yeah.
I do not have a problem with that. If
Do you want to lose your job, Chris?
I don't mind it. So it's up. I mean, trying to remember, what was his name? The last person? It doesn't matter what his name was. Were the minutes accurate? Was it, I can't remember.
He did a pretty good job, I think.
Yeah.
I know he hand wrote them and then he transcribed them into typing. It's fine with me. I mean, I don't mind doing it at all. I do it while we talk. So, but you know, if we feel like it's something that would be useful to offer as a volunteer opportunity, I don't mind proofreading notes that somebody else types and I could contribute that way. Whatever you guys want to do.
Are they looking for a lot? Do they have an excess of workers for the number of positions?
Yes. They're looking for people or things for them to do. So that's one of the things they put out there to me.
Can they clean out the old library?
You could use some help with that. That's
I
what
like
the
the
NHS kids are
partnership
for.
whenever there's an opportunity. So I think if it's not stepping on Chris's toes and we can be a good neighbor, that would be my 2 cents. Give it a whirl.
Give it a try.
All right. I'll talk to Liz and see what she thinks.
I would like to meet in person at some point during my tenure on this board.
Especially now with the building. I'm like, why are we not there?
Exactly.
So do we plan to do that in January now?
I'm not sure right after the holidays makes sense. But maybe when we're interviewing these kids.
I'll bring cookies for February. We'll do it then.
Sam, if we're going through the metal stuff and cleaning out, is the stuff that has been moved over to the new library that we need to, that the shelving that we don't want, has that been somehow tagged so we know to move it back?
Yeah, Chip came through and tagged everything that should stay. And then I spoke to Andy. Apparently she has a couple of kids that are coming on Saturday. And I told her that they can move some stuff over there as well.
Okay,
Mark, you have helpers. Go use them.
yes. And we talked about putting those backers on the shelves. Are we still planning on trying to do that? Do we have them?
We have some backers. I'm
We
not
don't have them
sure.
all.
Yeah, we don't have them.
And the ones in the existing library won't work, or they will? Do we know?
We don't know.
In the old library?
I don't know. I know that Jean did go there to do to get some for the children's room, but I don't know about the adult area.
Okay.
I don't recall. I could probably look at the picture and tell you if they're there.
Well, we should probably see how many we need and figure it out.
So that was
before the
also a
shelves
task I
disappear.
thought that NHS kids might be able to help with, those who are looking for hours.
Yeah, if we have the right things to put, we have the right backers, I think it would be fairly easy to do. We just need to figure out how many we need and where the right ones are. And if the old library has the backers, I mean, they can easily go and grab those too. We just need to know that they work. So, yeah, I'll go try them out sometime. Maybe I'll come around tomorrow and look into that.
Yeah, I'm happy to do something this weekend. I just not sure your schedule and my schedule is going to overlap.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Is there anything else that we need to touch base on before we adjourn? I do have a question, actually. So the select board meeting, they were talking about their own goals, and it kind of triggered do we do goals as a trustees? Like annually? Or director? I know you do for the budget, but this is a process we want to start. Silence.
It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to do, but we've never really done it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it would entail, but
yeah,
I do feel like there's a lot of balls in the air right now. So focusing which ones we should prioritize might need some discussion. Clearly, the first thing we need to do is finish moving into the new library and getting the old library off our plates.
Yeah. We also, Sam, you're going to need to come up with a plan for when it actually does snow, for what's happening with the library, for opening it up to everyone that's using the sledding hill. Are you going to open the lower door? How are you going to open it? That type of thing. Or people are going to be trudging through the library to use the restrooms and whatever. So,
the bathrooms are right by the front door.
yes, or by the other door too. So it's just a matter. And did we ever order those mats?
Oh, I have a question. Yeah, did we order the mat? That's one.
No. I was looking, Joe was supposed to tell me about a company and he forgot and I forgot. So I will get on that.
The next question I have is, how has the cleaning service been vetted, hired, put out to bid, all the steps that it needed to go through?
Not that I'm aware of. We do have someone who they do come and clean, but I don't know if they're still going to be the company that does it or not yet.
How often do they clean?
The same amount they were doing it before, I think 3 days a week.
They don't do recycling.
They don't do recycling. No.
Do you want one of us to follow up with Joe?
I can ask him tomorrow. I'll send him an email.
Anything else?
So I had one other thing, kind of like what Katrina was saying on the goals. If you looked at like the budget process, one of the other things was the 10-year capital plan, and the library wasn't listed at all. on the capital plan for the 10 years. And I'm not saying that we necessarily need to ask the town for money over the 10 years, but we should come up with a better idea of 10-year needs of capital outside of just materials and figure out what we would ask the town for versus paying for out of trust funds, right? Like we mentioned, like, I'm just going to throw out, we said like, you know, the hearing loops or the owls or things like that, that we could potentially be purchasing for the library. We might want to have a schedule of things that we think we'd like to enhance the library and then figure out whether it's funded out of, you know, a fundraising effort or trust funds or a town money. But we should come up with a better idea of a schedule for some of the things like that that we think we would like.
The other part of that budget meeting that we talked about is the putting money aside for fixing things and whatnot on a
Yes.
smaller level basis. Like, do we need to replace the carpet? Do we need, like, starting to budget that into the 10-year long-term forecast?
Yeah.
So we should definitely start that.
Yeah.
Kind of thinking. Okay.
So
I'm good. Anyone else?
I'm going to guess, Sam, that we don't need to do we're all set for a long-term plan for a while. I don't remember when they're due.
I think we have another year or two.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not.
Okay.
And who does that get sent to? The town, or is this library?
No, that's a MBLC thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it'd be good to kind of have like more of a calendar on and plans for some of these things that are potentially coming up. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we move back to the scholarship for a minute? Did we decide if we want one or two? Or do we leave
Let's see
it
how many-
open? See how many you get and then decide?
Yeah, it's usually based on applicants. And
It was depended on kind of if we thought there were two really viable candidates, we split it, as I recall.
I didn't know
Last
if
time
that
we
had to
did
be
this,
a pre-decided thing. Okay.
Well, in the past also we've had like we'd said 150 hours one time, and then we split it like two students for 100 rather than one for 150. We've also split it that way too. So.
Okay. You get to guide us through this process, both of you.
Okay. I'll stop now.
You can make a motion to stop.
I'll make a motion that we stop.
I second it.
All right, Chris. She says yes. Mark,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Our next meeting, I believe, is January 6th, 2020.